Good morning, and today we're going to learn more about the American Puritans. So who were the Puritans? Well, they were a branch of the Protestant church that broke off from England. Their movement began in the 16th and 17th centuries, and although they preferred to be called the godly, they were given the name Puritans for their struggle to reform or to purify the Church of England. So there were actually two different types of Puritans. One were called the separatists. These are going to have very extreme views. They held irreconcilable differences with the Church of England. They thought the church was corrupt and that they must distance themselves from it. These Puritans were persecuted under various monarchies in England, and they first fled from England to Holland. Because they were not welcomed in Holland for long, they later came to found the Plymouth colony in America in 1620. There are also the non-separatists. They hold less extreme views of the Church of England, and they believed in church reform rather than a complete overthrow of the church. Now, the non-separatist Puritans came to America in 1630, and they're going to found the Massachusetts Bay Colony. Both, however, are Puritans, and they're going to have the same doctrine of election or predestination. In their beliefs, man is innately sinful. Original sin means that we're incapable of any depravity. Only those who are chosen by God, known as the elect, are saved. Salvation is not based on your beliefs or good works. This is a predestination. Now, the grace of Christ allows the chosen the strength to follow the will of God, and the chosen will always follow the path of righteousness. Now, at the time, no one's going to know who was or was not saved. Puritans believed that you must have a conversion experience in order to be accepted by God. God's grace was given to the chosen, and this grace was demonstrated through one's behavior. Puritans would therefore reflect upon themselves for signs that they've received this grace. So even though they did not believe good works helped one get into heaven, the Puritans believed that living a godly life was evidence of their being chosen by God. So as a result of their belief in predestination, Puritans were always looking for these signs of grace in themselves and in others. And they would scrutinize their daily events, not just big events happening in their life, but the day-to-day events in their lives. They thought there was always a reason for everything, that everything was predestined, that you didn't have anything but determination, that you didn't have a free will. They felt that God's hand was in everything, no matter how insignificant the trials or tribulations. Now, with their beliefs, the Puritans believed in a literal interpretation of the Bible. They believed in explicit readings of the Bible as opposed to the church doctrines. They believed that what they were reading was strictly a history. The Puritans also did not believe in excess worship. They wanted no rituals, no adornments, no stained glass, no cushioned pews, no singing, no music. You are there to listen to the Bible. You are there to listen to the sermons. Now, the Puritans wanted to keep things simple so that they could concentrate on God, and there's this constant struggle between the forces of God and Satan in all of their readings and sermons. And of course, their values about God rewarding the good and punishing the wicked is ever present. So what are some of the positivities outside of the church world for the Puritans? Well, they believed in living a virtuous and self-examined life. They believed in strict discipline, and therefore they had a strong work ethic. And they felt that these qualities led to their economic success, and because of that, it was very virtuous. The Puritans also highly valued education. Harvard was founded in 1636 in order to train their ministers. Also, they wanted their children to get far away from the evils of England, and they tell their children not to play games. Boys were taught to go hunting and fishing. Girls were taught how to run a household. These were the different types of work ethics that were taught into their children and not giving them time to freely play. Now, even though education was for everybody, women were considered less capable intellectually, physically, theologically, and morally. After all, Eve was the first sinner in the Old Testament. And the idea of literature for pleasure was highly censored. You might see a poem or two here or there, but everything had to go through the minister of the town first. So when we talk about Puritan literature and the writing that is happening by the Puritans at this time, since they're not reading for pleasure, they're also not writing for pleasure or entertainment. One reason was the fact that they were struggling to build their settlements. So you're going to hear a lot of journaling and a lot of histories about what it is that they're doing on a day-to-day basis. Another reason was the fact that they considered these works of fiction frivolous and they might possibly be immoral. So what types of texts? Very historical documents. You're going to preserve the history, and you're going to offer justifications to relieve the guilt they felt over leaving their relatives behind in England. Remember, we're talking about the 1600s, the 1700s. Once you come over to America from England and Holland, you're likely never to go back again. We're also going to see their personal journals, but these are as tools for self-reflection. You're examining yourself for that sense of predestination. You're looking for signs of salvation in yourself and in others. Again, like I said, you might find some poetry, but they're highly inspired by religious beliefs and something that needs to be accepted by the ministers and governors in your colony. And of course, they might be writing religious tracts. Lastly, we talk about the Puritan plain style, and this is a mode of expression characterized by its clarity, accessibility, straightforwardness, simplicity, and lack of ornamentation. Now, in early America, the plain style aesthetic had broad cultural relevance, shaping the language of prose and poetry, the design of furniture and architecture, painting, and other visual arts. It's going to reject ornamental flourishes and superfluous decoration as a sinful vanity. Now, your plain stylists are going to work to glorify God in their expressions rather than to show off their own artistry or claim any renown for their own work themselves. Now, this aesthetic appealed both to Puritans and to the Quakers who moved into Pennsylvania soon after. Thank you so much for stopping by our channel to learn more about the Puritans. If you'd like to learn more about the Puritans and their works, please leave a comment down below as to what it is I can read or discuss more with you. And as always, I'd appreciate it if you subscribed.